Hey everyone, this is Major Orange and welcome to another video. Today we're going to be playing You Are the Judge. So let's get right into it. We're going to start a new game. Yes. Right is right even if everyone is against it, and wrong is wrong even if everyone is for it. William Penn. Now we have some choices to make. I'm going to choose. So you had the choice to choose university and you made your choice. We're going for law. You like a girl named Mary in law school. Now it's time to share your feelings with her. You said that you loved her. After college, you married Mary. As a result of your happy marriage with Mary, you have 2 sons. Mary told you you would be a great father. After graduating from law school, you started working as a lawyer. You chose the field you specialize in. We're going to go for criminal law. Although you had difficulty finding free time, you were happy to spend Sundays with your family. You would sit with your spouse and children every Sunday. We're going to the cinema because I like cinema. After practicing law for a long time, one of your best friends, Henry, encouraged you to take the judge's exams. After you brought this subject up to your wife, Mary, you saw her a little worried. When you ask Mary about the reason for her anxiety, she says, "Is this something you want? Are you sure you won't neglect the children and me?" Ask the question, and you too, that it would be better for both Mary and the children. Mary said that although she didn't fully address her concerns, she would support and always be there for you. And the long-awaited day came. Henry, your wife Mary, and the children were waiting for the results to be announced. While waiting for the results, we're excited. Henry comes to you and says, "I believe you have succeeded. From now on, a whole new life begins for you," he whispered. With the announcement of the results, you learn that your career as a judge has begun. Everyone in the house was in great joy. Mary looked a little thoughtful, but she couldn't help but rejoice. While you were excited about your first day of duty, you heard the horn of your driver coming from outside to take you to the office. After kissing Mary, you took your bag and set off for the office. Let's choose our character. Since this guy's probably not too old, we're gonna choose him. So it says more money and more government relation, but the negatives are that he's less of a Supreme Court relation. So we're gonna pick that. Our first case here is gonna be a human trafficking case, and we're gonna do 2 cases per video, just to not make this video too long. So let's go. All right, let's set up our computer here. First, I need to pick up the phone. Chief Justice, hello Richard, how are you? Thank you, Minister. I hope you are well too. Chief Justice, due to the recent appointments, you'll be starting your first day on the job. Do you feel prepared? Yes, Minister. I'm glad to hear that, Richard. I have a question on my mind. What is it? You are aware of this country's situation, and do you think you can handle this role? I've been working in the field of law for a long time. It won't be difficult for me. Thank you for your response, Richard. I wish you success in your duties. So we're going to inspect the folder. All right, we have a notice here. Dear Judge, our greatest expectation as you participate in upcoming cases is that you make accurate decisions in accordance with our Constitution. If either the plaintiff or the defendant believes that you have made an incorrect decision, they can approach us and we will conduct a detailed review. If we determine that your decision was incorrect, you will face a penalty. The day after cases which you made incorrect decisions, you can find out why we believe you made a wrong decision by using the file here. Cases in which you made incorrect decisions will be reviewed by another judge. We have full confidence in your ability to make correct decisions, but we deemed it appropriate to provide this information. Best of luck in your duties, the Supreme Court. Let's see, how do I get out of this? Nope. Alright, let's look at the law book. So our case is going on Article 134. So, 1. An individual or organization commits the crime of human trafficking by transporting people across borders through illegal means, or by turning a blind eye to such transportation. 2. Perpetrators of human trafficking are punished according to national and international regulations. The court may sentence the defendant to imprisonment ranging from 3 to 8 years. Alternatively, the court may impose a fine of up to $300,000. The discretion to lower or increase the amount based on the defendant's behavior in court is at the discretion of the court. So that's what the Constitution says. Let's click on our flag here. So we are in Cabarde. It says, Cabarde is certainly not a normal country. Its history in particular is quite dark. There have been numerous coups in the country's past, and military juntas have ruled the nation. The people have always become accustomed to this military coups, and it's now considered a normal situation for them. But it's time for things to change. The country deserves a democratic government. Elections have been held for this purpose, and now there is a civilian constitution in place. The country is governed by the government. Elections have been held for this purpose, and now there is a civilian constitution in place. The country is governed by the government that emerged from these elections. This new government has had its share of concerns, especially considering the significant power the military has had in the country's history. One could say that Cabarde is now looking to the future with hope. After all, there is now a democratic administration in the country. This change has also affected the judiciary courts, that were once under military control, are now conducting trials in accordance with the civilian constitution. However, this situation doesn't please everyone in the country, as there is still a significant portion of the population that prefers military rule. Let's set up our computer. Select a profile picture. Let's pick this one. Don't need a password. All right, let's check our mail. Human trafficking case. Our assistant has prepared everything for us. All right, let's read this email from our assistant. Hello, sir. I'm your assistant, Robin Harris. Firstly, I'd like to wish you success in your new role. My role is to provide you with the necessary information before cases and to conduct detailed analysis by researching the following day about the decisions you made in the cases. In this analysis, I strive to find out what institutions, the press, and social media think about the decisions you've made. If you ever have any needs, I'll always be there for you. Best regards. Alrighty, let's go into the... I need to look at the phone here. Let's go into the pre-trial of this case. Yes, I want to do this. Alrighty, let's talk to the defendant's attorney. My client, Bowden Bell, indeed works under the Cabarde Border Command at the border post. He is a dedicated citizen who is loyal to his homeland and understands the importance of his duties and responsibilities. There is no basis for him to engage in any activities outside his job description. We firmly deny the plaintiff's allegations and request the acquittal of my client. Let's talk to the plaintiff's attorney. My client, Cabarde Border Command, aims to secure our country's borders by preventing unauthorized crossings. However, it has been discovered that the defendant, who works at the border post, allows undocumented immigrants who had previously arranged with human traffickers to enter the country during his working hours. You will agree that this is an extremely serious and significant matter that jeopardizes our country's security. Therefore, we request his trial and the imposition of the necessary penalties. We're going to read this. I'm going to reject the defendant's stuff and go to the case, or trial, I should say. Let's pick a card. This one. Your relationship with the Supreme Court will increase by 5 points. That's good. Let's start this. The lawsuit begins. We're going to examine the case file. Alright. Kabarda Border Command versus Bowden Bell. Human trafficking case number 1967. About the case, Kabarda Border Command alleges that one of its officers involved in human trafficking along the borders. They claim that during his working hours he illegally allows undocumented immigrants into the country and profits from it. The accused officer Bowden Bell vehemently denies these allegations and does not admit to any connection with human traffickers. We have the parties here and some CCTV footage as evidence. I'm going to check the evidence now. So as you can see, we see people crossing here. The thing that's interesting is part of the video is cut out and it's not really clear. That will be important later. All right. We need to look at the pre-trial hearing records. You guys have already heard this, so I'm not going to repeat it. Examine the Constitution. We already read this. Check the list. We're going to check our checklist here. We need to do our witnesses and stuff. So we're going to talk to Andrew Turner, who's a witness. Can you confirm that you were on duty at the border post with the defendant? Well, yes. Sir, please excuse my nervousness. This is my first time appearing in court, and it's a completely different experience than watching it on television. Stay calm and just answer the question. Did you witness any suspicious behavior from the defendant during or outside his duty hours? Bowden is someone with strong social skills. He often interacts with people living near the border outside of working hours. Sometimes I join these conversations. However, the topic of human trafficking never came up in these conversations, at least not in the ones I participated in. Yes. Do you have anything to say about the defendant's behavior at the border post? The environment at the border post is quite unique. After all, hundreds of men are spending time in the same place. Bowden communicated with us in a very normal way. Perhaps he wasn't very cheerful lately, but who among us isn't going through tough times? Let's end the listening and go to the next witness. We're going to talk to witness Jeffrey Clark. All right. Is it true that you were stationed at the security booth closest to the defendants at the time of the incident? Yes, but I am new to the job, so I'm not very familiar with how things work at the border post or the border area. I might have been the closest, but still, the distance was not very close. How far is your post from the defendants, and was it within your line of sight? I would estimate about 250 meters. As I mentioned before, I am new to the border area. Also, during the night, my visibility is as you can imagine, very limited. Did you notice anything unusual at the defendant's security booth during the time of the incident? At one point, I saw some shadows on the other side of the border. We occasionally see wild animals, but these looked more like people than animals. However, since it was nighttime, my visibility was not very good. Alright, let's end the listening. Now we're going to talk to the plaintiff. You are accusing the duty officer of misconduct. Do you have any evidence to support this claim? Your Honor, upon reviewing our institution's records, it was determined that the defendant was not present in the security booth where he was supposed to be during working hours. Additionally, we have submitted the relevant security camera footage to the court. What is the content of the camera footage submitted to our court by the Cobarde Border Command? The security camera footage we submitted to the court belongs to the security booth located at the border, where the defendant was on duty. As you will see in the footage, a group of 3 illegal migrants is passing under the fences beside the booth. Upon closer inspection of the footage, the defendant's duty weapon, which is registered in our command's inventory, is seen leaning against the fence on the ground. What penalties does your institution request within the framework of your human trafficking allegations? Your Honor, the fact that the defendant is not seen in the camera footage does not mean that he did not commit the crime. The defendant is well aware of the camera's location. His absence during the commission of the crime is no coincidence. Migration is a fundamental right. You cannot prevent it. We're going to silence these people. Order in the court. The presence of his duty weapon right next to the area where the migrants crossed, his absence from his post during his shift, and the illegal crossing into our country as a result represent a significant security breach. We request the maximum penalty according to the Article 134, Paragraph 3 of our Constitution. Let's hear the defendant next. Bowden Bell. What is your duty at the border post? Your Honor, I am on guard duty at the security booth at the border post. My duty is to prevent illegal crossings at our border and to thwart any threats. I have never acted outside of my duty description. This accusation is completely slanderous. Why do you think your institution is accusing you falsely? Being charged in such a case is evidence of slander itself. I have never made any mistake in my duty other than those imposed by the limitations of being human. On the contrary, I have been insulted by my superiors multiple times. Nevertheless, I kept these to myself, considering the sanctity of my duty. But I see that the institution I work for does not share the same sentiment. Do you have anything to say about the security camera footage presented by your institution? Your Honor, I acknowledge that the camera footage belongs to the security booth at the border post where I was on duty. I am not very knowledgeable about technology, but I know that these images have been tampered with. Please believe in my innocence. All right, let's check our checklist again. Everything is good. Now, before I make the decision on this case, I would like you guys down below in the comment section to guess whether or not this person is guilty or innocent. Okay, I will now deliver the decision. Yes, I want to go to the decision-making screen. So what I'm going to do is, since the CCTV footage was not complete, I'm going to impose a prison sentence of 3 years. Let's confirm that. Plaintiff won. All right, we did pretty good. On to the next case. All right. Your spouse mentioned that you no longer have time for your family, and this situation is negatively affecting the children. What are your thoughts on this? You're right, I'll solve this issue. All right, on to the next case. What's this case about? Cobarde versus Lucian Foster. Murder case. Let's do this. All right, let's check our email. Mail. Murder case. All right, she's prepared the documents for us. That's good. About the last case, this is important. Hello, sir. I don't want to take up too much of your time, so I'd like to quickly summarize the outcomes of the recent case for you. The case regarding our border security didn't generate much interest among social media users, so there was no significant reaction or praise in that regard. However, some citizens thought that the case demonstrated our country's reciprocity capability in matters related to politics. While this case was covered by the written press, it didn't hold a highly prominent position. Though the decision didn't receive extensive scrutiny. The government, on the other hand, is generally pleased with the outcome of the case and the lack of significant media attention. The Ministry of Justice was curious about your performance, as this was your first case. That's all I have to convey to you. All right. First thing we're going to do is we're going to read the Constitution again. This time, it's going to be Article 248. So, any person who intentionally causes the death of another person shall be deemed to have committed the offense of homicide. If the crime of murder is considered to be a result of discrimination based on factors such as religion, language, or race, it is punished with a more severe penalty. If the crime of murder is committed with a sense of brutality and premeditation, it starts from 18 and can be increased to 100 years. First thing we're going to do is we're going to go to the crime scene. Yes. All right, we're going to examine the first bit of evidence here. Description. At the crime scene, a corpse identified to belong to Miles Petzer was discovered within a container. Additionally, a strong odor was present inside the container. The container is a cold storage unit. Upon a thorough examination of the corpse, it was determined that there are signs of physical assault. Furthermore, there are instances of frostbite and loss of function in various limbs of the deceased. Let's check the second bit of evidence. In the investigations conducted by the crime scene team, 2 pills were found on the ground. When the discovered pills were examined in detail by experts, it was determined that they were antidepressants. These pills are sold with a prescription, as they require a red prescription. Therefore, they can only be obtained with a doctor's recommendation. Occasionally, individuals who use them may experience suicidal thoughts, especially in the early stages. Okay, we have all the information we need. We're gonna leave. All right. We're going to go to the pretrial hearing now. Yes. Although your spouse may not entirely be pleased with the answers you've given to their questions about your work, they find the answers sufficient for now. Family loyalty at 90%. That's good. All right, we're going to talk to the defendant's attorney first. My client, Lucian Foster, is a prominent and respected businessman. We acknowledge that there was a heated argument between him and the deceased due to the engine failure experienced during the recent ship voyage. However, Lucian Foster has not seen the deceased after that argument. He personally desires a thorough investigation to shed light on this unfortunate incident. However, he denies the murder allegations brought against him. Let's talk to the plaintiff's attorney. The body of Miles Petter was discovered inside a frozen food container during routine inspections at the port. Following a thorough investigation by our prosecution, it has been determined, based on witness testimonies and examined evidence, that the incident was committed by Lucian Foster, the CEO of the container's owner company. Therefore, we request the punishment of the defendant. All right, so there are no objections from the defendant and plaintiff, so we're gonna go to trial. All right, let's pick a card. This one here. You lost $50 prior to the lawsuit. That's not good. All right, let's start. The lawsuit begins. Let's check our checklist. We're going to examine his criminal record. So, Lucian Foster has a history of violence, and he was arrested for that for 3 months and 9 days. This is good to keep in mind here. Let's examine the case file. Cabarde versus Lucian Foster, murder case, case number 1978. About the case. During routine inspections at Cabarde Port, a frozen food container was opened, revealing the lifeless body of a man. It was later determined that the deceased was Miles Petter, an employee of the container's owner company and a ship engineer. The ship experienced a major engine failure in the ocean, and it was learned that this happened due to Miles Petter's failure to conduct adequate checks before the ship's departure. Upon hearing about this, the CEO of the company, Lucian Foster, is reported to have engaged in a heated argument and even a physical altercation with Miles Petter. The parties are here. We have 3 bits of evidence. We have CCTV footage, an autopsy report, and a body identification report. So, according to the autopsy report, the first finding is there's frostbite in many spots of the corpse. That is not suspicious because the corpse was found in a frozen state. Finding 2, there are crushes on the skull of the corpse. Okay. Finding 3, drugs were found in the stomach of the corpse. I believe Miles Petter was taking antidepressants since we found them at the scene. We're going to take a look at the evidence here. According to this evidence, we can see those 2 men fighting, but we cannot point it to the crime here. All right, let's check the checklist again. All right. We need to examine the Constitution. I already read this law out to you guys, so we're not going to repeat it. Then we're going to call the witnesses up to the stand. First witness, Robert Taylor. What was the argument between Lucian Foster and Miles Petter about during the ship's voyage? It was about the engine malfunction and responsibilities, and it was a major mistake. I mean, how can I say this? It was a situation that endangered the crew's safety. What would you say about the seriousness and scale of the argument? At that time, I was in the boiler room. They were yelling at each other so loudly that I wondered what was going on and went upstairs. When I got up there, I saw that both of them were in a very heated argument. I should also add that they were using severe insults against each other. What did you do afterward? Did you witness anything? I returned to my post, and honestly, I thought Miles would lose his job. After such a serious argument with the boss, no one can stay employed. I didn't witness anything else. All right, we're going to end the listening and go to the next witness. Next goes Charles Martinez, witness. As the person who opened the frozen food container, how did you experience the incident? I don't know how to describe it. I went to the boss's office and brought the medication he requested. He looked extremely tense. I gave him the medication and left the room, then opened the container for routine inspections. When I saw him lying on the floor covered in blood, I was in utter shock. In what condition and position was Miles Petter's body found inside the container? His body was on the floor inside the frozen food container. And I really feel sick when I remember it. He was covered in blood. There was also a very strong stench inside the container. You mentioned earlier that you brought medication to your boss. Do you know what that medication was for? Of course. Everyone, I mean the entire crew, knows this. I'm talking about our boss needing psychiatric help and medication because he's a very tense person. However, I definitely don't think he would go as far as to kill someone. Next witness. Brian Scott. What can you say about your last conversation with Miles Petter? It was right after the argument, but it was a very brief conversation. I told him to stay calm, that everyone makes mistakes, and that things would be okay. We didn't have any other conversation after that. Did Miles Petter have any issues or conflicts with anyone else in the crew? As far as I know, no. Miles was a very lively person and was liked by everyone. However, it was known that he had been going through some family issues recently, and he had become a bit withdrawn. I think the mistake he made on the ship was related to this distraction. Do you believe Lucian Foster could kill someone? Sir, as you can imagine, accusing someone of murder is a very serious matter. Lucian Foster is a perfectionist, and yes, he doesn't like mistakes, and I can say he is tense. But if I thought he could kill someone, I wouldn't work at this company. Next witness. That's not what I wanted. Witness Ronald Hall. It says he is a police officer. When you arrived at the scene, did you notice anything unusual? When I first arrived, I saw a crowd gathered around a container, and everyone had a look of disgust and shock on their faces. Then I noticed someone lying on the ground, and I immediately secured the area. Was Lucian Foster there? No, he wasn't there. I mean, not when I arrived. He must have been informed later because he came afterward. Did you find any suspicious circumstances or individuals during your investigation? For instance, how did Foster appear when he arrived? During my investigation, I did not come across any suspicious circumstances. As for Lucian Foster, to be honest, he seemed indifferent. Perhaps he was in a state of shock and didn't know how to react at that moment. It's difficult to say, as trying to interpret someone's feelings can be quite challenging. Let's end the listening. I'm gonna check one more thing. It says here the plaintiff, we have respectful court behavior, general behavior is calm and appearance is neat. The defendant is respectful, general behavior is tense, and he's neat. So that's good. We're going to talk to the defendant. What was the reason for your argument during the SIPS forge? It was disagreement of the engine malfunction and associated responsibilities. Since the situation was extremely serious, threatening the safety of lives, I got angry with him and warned him to be more careful. Just gonna check something here. This is a notepad. All right. You were accused of killing Miles Petter. How do you respond to this accusation? I am in shock and deeply saddened. You argue with someone about a legitimate issue, and then this person dies, and you get accused. This must be one of the worst things that can happen to a person. I completely deny the accusations. I would never go so far as to kill someone. The prosecution claims that the medications you regularly use sometimes cause you to lose control. Is this true? This is a very general question. What does it have to do with the case? I guess it's not true. I mean, sometimes the medications cause me some difficulties, but I try not to let it affect those around me. Let's end the listening. Where is the... I'm trying to think. No, I don't want that. I'm trying to think where the... This is a notepad file. Wondering... Oh, we forgot the body identification report. Since not all employees were on the ship of the day of the incident, the identity of the body could not be clearly determined by the police. Based on the statements of people at the scene, it was concluded that the body belonged to Miles Petter, and his brother was invited to identify him. His brother confirmed that the body belonged to Miles Petter. Anyway, I'm going to... Yeah, I read the question a bit fast. So the first question to Lucian Foster was the reason for the argument during the ship's voyage? All right. We're going to close this. And now we're going to speak to plaintiff. Under what circumstances and how was Miles Pether's body found? Your Honor, port officials conduct routine inspections of containers. On the day of the incident, during one such inspection, Miles Pether's body was discovered inside a container. Since the container was for frozen food, the victim's body was found in a frozen state. As the plaintiff, on what grounds do you claim that Lucian Foster is the murder suspect? After inspecting the crime scene, we, the prosecution, interviewed individuals who were in the vicinity at the time and who knew the victim. In almost all of these interviews, the name of Miles Pether's boss, Lucian Foster, came up. We learned that due to a technical issue on the ship, the victim was subjected to severe insults and physical violence by Lucian Foster. Additionally, Lucian Foster is prone to losing control due to the prescription medications he uses. Do you have anything else to add regarding this incident? In the evidence we presented to the court, you can clearly see the footage of the argument on the security camera. Additionally, the autopsy report of Miles Pether shows that although he died from freezing, there are severe signs of assault on his body. Our prosecution asserts that the victim was assaulted and then thrown into the frozen food container, where he subsequently died. Let's end the listening and make our decision. So, before I make my decision, I would like you guys in the comments to guess who is he guilty or is he not guilty? So let's make the decision now. Yes. I'm going to presume he's innocent because I only saw the argument on the photo camera. There's no evidence that he actually did this crime. So he's gonna be innocent for this one here. All right, that's great. We did great. The government is working on a new immigration bill. What are your thoughts on this matter? We can use immigrants as a workforce. All right, we completed 2 of the cases. So next time we're going to be looking at a rights infringement lawsuit, and I don't know what this one is yet, but we'll look at that next time. Before we end the video, please like and subscribe to this video. It really helps me out a lot, and it tells the algorithm that my videos are actually doing anything. So thank you again, and till next time.